notice that the air is getting crisper and the day lengths are getting shorter. And that means one thing: fall is here. And like so many others, this is one of my favorite seasons for two reasons, really. It's football season, and also it's time to start decorating for the holidays. Now, both of those are family traditions within my family, and today we're going to actually do a decorating project that you can do with your family. What you're going to need is a pumpkin. Any size really will work. You just want to make sure that it sits well on a flat surface. You're also going to need a mum that's appropriately sized for the pumpkin that you get. You're going to need a drill. With really any size drill bit will work, just enough to make a small drain hole in the bottom of your pumpkin. You're going to need a stick or some sort of tool to kind of press that soil down into the pumpkin. And then also your carving knife. Now be careful with this. Obviously with kids we always want to be careful when we're using sharp instruments. And finally we're going to need some potting soil. Now a sack or a trash sack is kind of nice to use to kind of contain the mess when you're doing this, because it will get a little dirty. But what we're going to do is start out just by carving our pumpkin, and we'll do this just like a regular jack-o'-lantern. We want to start by taking off the lid. So once you've got the lid taken off, unlike a jack-o'-lantern, you don't really need to hold on to this. And we've cut our hole probably a little bit smaller than we need to, but it's always better to cut it smaller, and then we can make it larger as we go. Now you want to make sure, and this is where the kids come in handy, because this is the fun part, you want to make sure to get out all that seeds and guts of the pumpkin. The more seeds you get out, the better, because if you don't, you will soon find out by a vine growing in your garden. Before we want to put our plant in, we want to make sure to turn it over, and this is where we'll use our drill, and we want to drill some drainage holes in it. There tends to be a hard core right in the center, and actually the lower part is on the edge, and so we'll just go ahead and drill a couple holes right on around the core. And that will allow for drainage when we put our plant in here. So now that we have our pumpkin cleaned out, we've got all of the seeds out, and if some of those strings are in there, that's fine. We just want to make sure the seeds are cleaned out. And we've got a fairly good opening for our mum here that we're going to try to place in there. An easy way to get these out, because they can break sometimes, is to roll it on the ground on a table so that the mum's actually hanging off. And just hold your hand underneath it and it'll come out really nicely. Now the roots here aren't too root bound, but we're going to just see if it looks like it's still a little bit large. So we're going to have to cut this down, and just like you would plant a new plant, we're going to just trim up some of these roots here. So we're going to add some potting soil into the bottom of this just to bring up the plant a little bit higher in the pumpkin. And you know that as we water these in later on, this will settle. Also, we're obviously trying to put something that has flat sides into something that has round sides inside. So if you can press some of that soil up along the edges, that's good too. All right, now we're gonna push this down in there, and I can tell just by pushing with my fingers that this is firmly planted down onto that potting soil. Now we still need to fill in the sides a little bit. You can see I can easily put my fingers in there. And so we're just going to go along and kind of press some potting soil down into those sides. Once we're sure that it's firmly packed with soil, the last thing that we've got to do is water our plant in, and we have our mum pot ready to go. Now the reason why it was so important to not leave any seeds in this is because, unlike other holiday decorations, the nice thing about this is there's no storage required. When this one starts to break down, you'll simply take this out into the garden and plant it, pumpkin and all, into the garden, and you'll have your mum there growing for next year. Now, the more you get into this, the more creative you can get with the different plants. We've got some different plants here that we've played with. And like I said, you can do this with any size. This one is great for kids to do their own with a little 4-inch mom. We use some curly rush and some cabbage and also some trailing sedum to make a fun little jack-o'-lantern out of plants. But if you're not wanting to get too creative with the plants, just finding some that makes for great hair is fun if you draw a little face on them. This is a great holiday decorating project that you can do with your family. I encourage you to try it out.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.